So we've just come down to what is described as London's biggest Christmas market. The only problem is, they've called it, if you follow me, they've called it a winter come together. So my challenge now is to find anywhere in this market that says the word Christmas, maybe the word Jesus, any indication that this is indeed a religious holiday in the UK. We've got winter warmers at the winter market. Is this a Christmas market?
It's a winter market.
A winter market? What's the difference?
Something to do with religion. They can't say Christmas, but...
So apparently the stall traders here have been told they can't say the word Christmas.
So let's talk today about the war on Christmas. And I mean the actual war on Christmas. You know, I still remember about 10 years ago when liberals used to constantly mock conservatives for the whole Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays thing. Their excuses included, well, who actually cares? They're just words. Nobody's actually trying to cancel Christmas. And it turns out that, first of all, no, words actually do have meaning. And secondly, a lot of people are trying to cancel Christmas in a very direct, physical, and violent way. And they just so happen to be these so-called refugees and migrants that liberals thought it was a good idea to mass import into Western countries. And considering the fact they still celebrate this migration and so-called diversity to this day, I'm going to take that symbolic red-green alliance, folks, to absolutely mean that it's not just crazy jihads that want to cancel Christmas. No, the liberals who are celebrating and defending this stuff absolutely are in on it, because we've come a long way from it just being a war of words over holiday versus Christmas. No, it is now the case across many different Western nations this year. We've seen Christmas markets, especially in Europe, get shut down and canceled. They're full of basically military-grade armed security, and yet still in many different cases, pro-Palestine or Islamic jihadi protesters have stormed into these very events, vandalized Christian memorials and statues, and indeed tried to disrupt and quite literally cancel Christmas. And folks, if you think Europe is alone, let me just tell you that obviously it goes without saying this is also coming to America soon if we are not careful. So let's discuss this, right? What's actually going on, and why does it seem so physically difficult to celebrate Christmas in Western countries nowadays, which, by the way, are meant to be historically what? Christian countries. You would think in the Christian world it shouldn't be controversial to celebrate Christmas. Well, in this case, it turns out, thanks to mass migration, you might quite literally pay that price with your life. This is not happening in Afghanistan. This is happening in, say, the UK and Germany. Let's tell you about it, guys. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate it. And that said, I think this is a great kind of short explanation by the free press that details what's actually going on right now. So, for example, in Germany, as we speak, Christmas markets this year are festooned with concrete barriers and police armed with automatic rifles. At casual little Christmas markets, right? Historic tradition in Europe. I really wonder why they never had to do that before. You know, historically, these were things you went to, the town celebrated, it was relatively safe. Let me just say, as it pertains to many different issues of crime and violence on the European continent in the past few decades, the problem didn't spring up from nowhere, right? There's a very close correlation between, let's say, opening the borders to certain countries, and now you need automatic rifles just to protect the Christmas markets that you've probably quite literally been doing in this town for thousands of years. And don't get me wrong, I have no issue with public safety. Obviously, there's a reason now they have to do it, but isn't it very interesting how public authorities in these countries, and even, you know, liberals in America, they'll look at this issue, they'll be like, oh, that sucks, we have safety concerns now, and they'll call for all types of things, right? Gun control, hate speech laws regarding social media, but never once think to actually close the borders to the very people who are committing these acts of violence, crime, and terrorism every single time. But that's just Germany. The famous Christmas market in Salzburg, Austria now includes 33 surveillance cameras and 24-hour security guards. Gee, it seems like we didn't really have to do that before, did we, right? And it's the same story in France. Authorities in Paris have now canceled the city's New Year's Eve party due to repeated safety and terrorist concerns. Again, why'd you suddenly have to do that now? I wonder. So you're going to cancel the New Year's Eve party, You're not going to allow people to celebrate because you're going to say, we need to keep you safe. But never once in the process of keeping you safe do we think, oh, we should close the borders. Oh, we should maybe deport many of these Syrian refugees and other groups. After all, the civil war in Syria is over. Why are they still there? Well, no, but just let's cancel famous European Christian and, Western traditions simply because we can't keep people safe and we have no idea why. We have no idea why, right? Last December, as many know, a Christmas market attack in Magdeburg, Germany left 6 dead, 5 were killed in the 2018 market attack in Strasbourg, France, and this year the global terrorist group ISIS urged its followers to recreate those attacks across the West. The September 18th edition of its newsletter, Al-Naba urged Muslims to target Christians and Jews and, quote, kill by all means, which is certainly a problem. Okay, don't get me wrong, this is an ideology in many ways we're fighting, but at the same time, does it not seem to be the case that, well, if you import a bunch of people from these regions of the planet who practice this, these beliefs and have these things in their head, that, gee, maybe the safety concern there goes up, has that at all been a consideration? Or are we still believing the lie that, diversity is our strength or something like that, as we quite literally shut down traditions that have existed in these countries for hundreds of thousands of years, but don't shut down the borders, really? But folks, you thought it stopped there? No, it doesn't. So just a couple weeks ago, for example, a group of Islamic protesters stormed into the opening night of the Christmas market in Brussels, Belgium. Keep in mind, this is the basically quasi-capital of the European Union, waving Palestinian flags, setting off smoke bombs, and scaring families. So before, again, they try to say nobody's trying to cancel Christmas. No, turns out millions of third world migrants who have been imported into Western countries, it's not an issue of they don't want to celebrate celebrate Christmas, right? They are not absolutely at all saying, oh, coexistence, let's live together peacefully. No, they're saying you're going to celebrate Christmas in your own countries, in your own Christian countries now. How dare you? This is how we're going to respond. This, by the way, was only in late November of this year. So notice, by the way, how the war in Gaza is over, yet these people are still protesting. They haven't stopped protesting, and it's not exclusively about targeting Jews or Israelis. This is now a Christmas market where they're doing the exact same thing. It's almost like the words globalize the intifada were meant to be taken, as I've so often said, quite literally, right? It's not about Israel really even in itself. It's about tearing down the entire Christian and Western world. And after all, I mean, when you allow that into your country and they're saying exactly that's what they're about, that's what their religion believes, that's exactly what they seek to do, and then they show up and do it, should you really be all that surprised? I mean, the answer should be no, but, I'm sure they're going to respond by saying, oh, well, it was just a peaceful protest. Well, it actually didn't stop there at this very Brussels Christmas market because these Islamic protesters proceeded to decapitate a baby Jesus statue in this very Christmas market. Quote, the head of the baby Jesus was decapitated at a nativity scene and then stolen overnight after this pro-Palestine mob gate crashed the Brussels Christmas market and chanted Hamas slogans in the street. So yeah. Again, I say it's almost like this was never meant to stop at Israel, was it?
The head of the baby Jesus was decapitated at a nativity scene, then stolen overnight after a pro-Palestine mob gate-crashed Brussels Christmas markets and chanted Hamas slogans in the street. The mayor of Brussels confirmed the head of the figurine of Jesus was stolen after being decapitated by an unknown culprit who took off with the head but left the body in place Friday night. The mayor's spokesman said they would replace the baby Jesus' head. The opening of the Christmas markets and switch on of the lights at the main square was gate-crashed by a mob of pro-Palestine protesters. In this video, they can be seen chanting pro-Hamas slogans and letting off smoke bombs as families tried to enjoy the Christmas festivities. The Brussels nativity scene has been target for similar acts of vandalism over the years. In 2017, the entire baby Jesus doll was stolen, never to be recovered.
Hey, isn't it very interesting? Was this a problem like 30 years ago at the Brussels Christmas market? 50 years ago? No, I don't really think so, huh? It's like almost like the moment a certain crowd started showing up, all of a sudden they started mass attacking Christians and vandalizing nativity scenes and disrupting Christmas markets, right? And yet, of course, if you listen to the globalist establishment in basically any Western country, who do they constantly cite as their top concern? The far right, white Christians accusing them of Islamophobia. You don't believe in coexistence. No, I think that problem may be just speculation here, could be clearly coming from the other side, Do you see the opposite on Ramadan happening, right? Are white Christians storming into Islamic areas and doing this? And even in Western countries, but heck, especially in the Middle East, right? Are a bunch of Christians doing this over in Afghanistan? No, this is an issue really only going exclusively one way. And just frankly, tired of being called names for pointing out the very obvious here.
In 2014, protesters removed the Christ child's head, and in 2015, 3 youths vandalised the scene overnight. This year's nativity is believed to have cost Brussels €60,000 and will remain on display until the 4th of January, and was already subject to controversy. The council had...
I wonder where the controversy was coming from, right? I wonder who was so upset that was living in Belgium, a historically Christian Western country, that this nativity scene they probably been doing, I don't know, for centuries likely, right? Suddenly now it's an issue, huh? What's changed in Europe over the past 30 years? I'm just going to ask that question again,
removed the use of the term Christmas from the display, opting instead to call the scene Winter Wonders in order to be more inclusive.
Oh, so there is a war on Christmas, right? Oh, happy holidays. I remember like a couple of years ago, the liberals, at least in America, started to shift their rhetoric to say, oh, we're fine with saying Merry Christmas. There isn't actually, that's a fake issue you guys made up. And then, it turns out, entire governments across the Western Christian world are no longer being willing to say the words Christmas anymore, right? And notice that though. But here's the thing too. It tells you a lot about the whole kind of liberal openness and tolerance thing. Okay, so they changed the name thinking, oh, well, maybe people are offended. It's called a Christmas market. So let's change the name to be more inclusive and tolerant. And what do? They still vandalize the place anyway. They still decapitate the baby Jesus anyway. Yeah, very mysterious. How could that possibly happen?
This was unable to deter the pro-Palestine mob who brandished the Palestinian flag as it barged onto the square and let off the smoke bombs. Fears have been raised over the security of celebrations across Europe in the run-up to Christmas. Markets across Germany, France and the UK have seen barriers erected around the perimeter, and armed police are set to guard them.
Okay, great to see they're trying to keep people safe, but again I ask, okay, where's the barriers at the borders then? Huh? Shouldn't you put this in the ocean? Maybe the refugee boats to discourage them or something? Oh, no. But let's kind of make life worse for normal law-abiding citizens to whatever degree just because we're too scared to be called Islamophobic or racist or xenophobic and address what the obvious root of the problem is, right? And this, by the way, was obviously not just reserved to the Brussels market. Here's a scene in Germany where they're chanting, quote, "There is no God but Allah, Allah Akbar," again in the middle of a Christmas market. So clearly this coexistence diversity thing is going so fantastically. And again, you just have to ask. Clearly, these are Syrian refugees, the very Syrian refugees who were admitted into many European countries throughout the 2010s due to the civil war. Here they are flying the new Syrian flag of the new government, celebrating that, which begs a number of questions. First of all, okay, why are you still here? And clearly you love the new Syrian government so much. That's what you were fleeing initially, was the war. The war is over. So shouldn't they go back? Shouldn't they be remigrated? Isn't that the legal definition of what a refugee is, right? A temporary person who's fleeing violence. I mean, I don't know. Clearly, that's not the case. But then secondly, you wonder if you would see any ounce of gratitude, because America, sure, under Obama was the chief driver of this, but obviously Germany and sort of the NATO allies helped us out with this. The Western countries were responsible for ultimately toppling Assad and installing the new government that you are currently celebrating. So wouldn't you think to at least show a little bit of gratitude for that and, respect? Hey, they gave us what we wanted. No, instead, let's apparently waive the new, basically saying to Western countries, haha, you dumb fools, we can't believe you did this on our behalf. Nope, still they're going to disrupt the Christmas market and, terrorize a bunch of people with a new flag. And apparently that's how these quote unquote refugees are repaying Western countries for the great favor they allegedly, according to these people, right, did for the Syrian people, which clearly, I don't know, must not be the case. Now, shifting over to the UK, a country who's probably obviously seen a ton of problems lately. Again, here's the conspiracy being proven correct. The Christmas market in South Bank, London, was banned from being called a Christmas market for quote-unquote religious reasons. Well, actually, let's break that down, right? What could those religious reasons be? Because sure, there's plenty of atheists in Western countries and liberals or whatever, but, I'd point out that here's the thing about Christmas in Western countries is that, sure, Christmas itself is an inherently Christian holiday. It does celebrate, even if it's not the exact date, right? It symbolically celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ. But it is sort of also a cultural holiday, sure, in Western countries where, yeah, even a lot of non-Christians who are just Westernized also celebrate Christmas for the festivities and Santa and all that stuff. So this is all to say, right? When they say religious reasons, I don't think it's necessarily say like woke atheists who are offended by the word Christmas, especially Christmas market. It's been called that for a very long time. No, the religious reasons are clearly meant to appease a certain group of people, and that could be those who practice the same religion that, of course, storms into the Christmas markets to vandalize things, terrorize people, and commit violent terrorist attacks. I don't know, I'm just saying, but take a listen.
Is this a Christmas market?
It's a winter market.
A winter market? What's the difference?
Something to do with religion. They can't say Christmas, but
so apparently the stall traders here have been told they can't say the word Christmas. Happy Christmas or happy holidays?
Both.
Why both? It's Christmas, isn't it?
No, you can't say both. See, that's exactly what I'm saying, right? So here's this woke guy who's like, okay, both, fine, coexistence. Dude, the immigration you support, those people don't believe in the same coexistence as you. So unless you're going to hop off that train, then you have to lump them together because clearly, again, the red-green alliance, right? One allows the other and they kind of work in conjunction. So even if this guy says, I'm fine with your right to celebrate Christmas, that mass migration he supports, they don't exactly feel the same way and he's fine with that. So
Christmas, yeah.
Why would you say happy holidays? Which scenario?
Because not everybody celebrates Christmas.
Happy holidays or happy Christmas?
Oh, happy Christmas. Absolutely happy Christmas.
Whoa, hang on a minute. Christmas? You'll offend people saying that.
I know.
Happy holidays?
Happy Christmas.
Winter market?
Christmas market.
Everyone's scared of saying Merry Christmas these days. What happened to this country? They used to put Christmas lights on all of these buildings. They used to turn them all into Christmas trees. Not anymore. I don't even recognise this place anymore. Where am I? I think I'm lost. I don't know where I am. Where am I? I don't recognise anything. It's shroom season, is it? I thought it was the season to be jolly. Sadiq probably did that. Probably spray painted that himself, didn't he? That number probably only leads to bad Samaritans. Not a single Christmas decoration on it. They've changed the name of the Royal Cristobal Hall. Supposed to walk downstairs. It used to be that this bridge was accessed exclusively by chimney because of Christmas, but now, it's just stairs, is it? The only Christmas market in London, it's called a winter one. Come together. That's disgusting. A festive sing-along. Not even allowed to sing Christmas songs. Sing the Sound of Music. Toilets. That's what we're supposed to think about Christmas, is it? Piss and shit. All these trees, right? Not a single Christmas tree. The whole city, they've just done nothing to make it look Christmassy or festive or twinkly in any way. So you've chucked a load of baubles in a tree, but I'm not allowed to smoke under it. How's that Christmassy? There you go. In half an hour walking around London, I've not seen a single thing about Christmas. London's finished. There's no Christmas here. So there you have it. We've walked through the city, cleansed London, and there's not a single mention of Merry Christmas. You can't celebrate Christmas anymore because you'll get stabbed, you get attacked, your phone will get snatched, you'll die. There's no joy anymore. And some people might say you've just walked through one of the greatest cities in the world entirely safely, and there was loads of different things that you could have done, and you actually could have found the Christmas spirit within yourself, and if you were looking properly, you would have seen the fact that it's full of Christmassy stuff. But to that I say, maybe I don't want to be happy. Maybe I don't want to hang out with my kids. Maybe I want to spend my Saturdays walking around complaining about stuff that doesn't fucking exist. Happy holidays, I guess.
Yeah, so when we say that the war on Christmas is real, we absolutely mean it. Okay, it's not a political talking point. The people who were saying it 10 years ago were totally onto something. And maybe it's time to stop mocking us for saying that and start asking serious questions as to, hey, where did all the Christmas markets go in Europe? How come London is completely now bland and devoid of all that, right? And hey, maybe things aren't that far behind in America. Let me say this too, to the liberals. You know, if you're someone who also likes Christmas, because you guys, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys like Christmas lights as well. Oh, that's so pretty. And you're at all concerned that it feels like they're starting to come down. I don't know, maybe that's something you ought to ask yourself questions about, right? Maybe you should stop supporting the mass importation of people who are actively canceling this stuff. And we're not just talking about the classical canceling of mean tweets. No, we mean physically they're making sure it's not going to happen and it's not allowed in our countries, okay? Just something to consider. I mean, I know that you guys probably will fail to heed that advice. In many ways, it's completely part of your agenda to allow the mass migration of a bunch of people who hate the West, hate Western traditions, hate the history, hate the founding religion and faith of, these nations. But just something to think about, okay? But that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, Merry Christmas. Remember, this is going to be America if we're not careful. God bless and peace.